Good to go.
Okay. Introductions. I don't know if everybody knows everybody. We should quickly go around the table because I think this is your first in-person meeting anyway.
No, I was at the last in-person meeting.
Oh, you were?
but yeah, it's been a while.
You were on the phone last time.
Yeah, I was
before you-
yeah, you're right. I was on the phone
Alright.
last time and on in person 2 times ago. When it's quarterly, it goes by fast.
Anyway, I'm Lon Holgren, currently the chair.
Alex Bernier, resident.
John Carrington, Director of Public Works.
Laurel Manville, planning and zoning alternate resident as well.
I'm Sam Bruder, resident and town council.
Yes.
Ryan Aylesworth, town manager.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and I'm Christine Nowak. I'm a resident.
Great. As far as miscellaneous correspondence, I don't have anything other than what's on the agenda, so. Unless anybody else has anything, we can move on to the minutes. We did circulate minutes of the April 14th meeting. And I have a couple extra copies here if anybody wants one. And so if there are any corrections, now would be the time. If not, we have a motion to approve them.
So moved.
I second that.
Any objections? Not, we'll say they're passed. Great. So I don't see Philip on the from the WRTD. What's his last name? Johnson?
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll skip and see if he comes in later. All right. On the bicycle pedestrian master plan. I met with DPW staff a couple of months ago, and a month ago I met with Jennifer Kaufman, who's now the acting planner. But she had some suggestions about reformatting parts of what the draft had already been formatted in, so that it matched the plan of conservation and development's format. They have a kind of a format. She thought it would be helpful. So I have her comments. I just haven't finished her formatting yet. The plan for me would be to finish that, get that back to Derek and Sherry to finish the maps, and then it should be circulatable, I guess, as among this committee and others who will have comments on it. It'd be nice to have a more current draft by the time we have to submit for our renewal of our bicycle friendly application for the town bicycle friendly community, which is September 29th. So we have a little bit of time. It's probably not enough time to get it adopted, but if we can make the draft more current, we could append that to the application and say we're still working on it, and give them a date that we would hope that it would be done. And I have a file here if anybody wants to look through it. It's just still a little rough in terms of how it's going to look after we complete the draft. Okay, next, the charge came back. We passed it last time and thought we were done, but it went to the Committee on Committees and they improved it. So it's back to us to either comment or approve, or however you'd like to do. So if you want to take a minute, I have another copy here. Does everybody have it? Oh, it's on there too. Okay. I do have a written copy though, if anybody wants to review.
Got it.
Okay, you got it. You're all set?
Got it,
Okay,
yeah,
Thank you.
and I think I have a printed copy from.
yeah, so let's just look it over and see what the latest changes were. Well, first of all, they included the members, that's useful. And who staffs the committee.
Would we actively like choose residents who are advocates for the various?
Actually, I was just gonna ask that question.
The committee on committees is supposed to do that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, all right.
So
I think we have that covered in the current committee. I don't know. if
Might be some
You may not be
overlapping.
your number one advocacy,
Right.
it's in there somewhere.
I can tell you, I was just in committee on committees before this. We're looking to have, not just in this committee, but in all the other committees, membership come from the committee rather than us sending it to you.
oh,
So that way, the idea is, and this is still being worked out, but the idea would be to get volunteers who are already invested in the meetings and the going ons and this committee would make a recommendation to the committee on committees.
Nice.
So if we have 10
Okay.
people sitting in the room right now, and the committee only has 9, if we said we wanted a 10th committee on committees would be good with that. Is that what you're saying?
They would
If we-
review, or they would whittle it down to the 9.
Or say there's someone that was like a super advocate for a 65 and older, we would come to you and say like, hey, we have this person that.
Yep.
Okay,
But that's not official yet. that's just-
Okay.
So I'm sorry, I missed the earlier meetings, but what does it mean to be an advocate? I mean, just being a parent or a teacher or I guess I'm just a little like,
This was Counselor Berthelot made these changes a lot, because I went to committee on committees last time. There's basically somebody on the committee who would be the champion for those. So you don't have to be over 65 to be an advocate for 65 and older. You don't have to be a child, but you're on the committee, you're gonna be the one who kind of like, hey, let's think about the children, let's think about age 65 and older, let's think about somebody with mobility impairments, which we probably all already did, but she just wanted to specify.
I think in talking to her outside of the meeting, it is helpful sometimes, especially when residents are contacting the town council to say, the streets are being repaved, what are you doing to keep them safe? We can point to like this committee and say, we've lined out what we want or what we think would be useful for an advocate and somebody for bicyclists or and walkers and just to have that accountability.
originally, I think they had different slots. But, that was 25 years ago, so. Because I remember Mike Taylor was put on because he's a business person. He was supposed to represent businesses.
I always assumed he was on there for biking or something. I didn't know.
But I don't remember, I have to go back to ancient history.
Since I've been here, I don't think
Yeah,
that anything's gone before committee and committees. I don't think is looked at anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just you want to be on the committee you're on.
no,
But if anybody wants to change, this is the time, because it's got to go back to committee on committees, which met tonight, so it'll be their September. meeting,
Yeah.
'cause you
Yeah.
cancel the August meeting.
I like these ideas, but a lot of them overlap in transit and walkability. And so I think it's fine to spell them out, but when you improve one of these things, it helps all of them. So,
I agree.
And I think that's why there's the if possible.
yeah,
right,
I'm good with it.
right.
I just think there might be, again, I don't know, there might be just some confusion about an advocate for children, like young children, school children, students. And the same is like for bicyclists or, bicyclists, walkers, runners, maybe you're all kind of on the same page. I guess I just don't know how that's going to work in progress, but I guess that's the committee on committees thing to work out, maybe. I don't know.
Can we look at can you scroll down?
Sure.
Look at the one.
that kind of goes to your point of improve one, improve many.
Right.
I think new is also the mission statement. I don't think we had that last time. It's something that's been added.
Right, right, and it quotes the references the complete street policy, which was attached as well. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the complete streets policy. It is really apple pie and everything good. The implementation of it is a little more difficult because some changes and some things may cost some money and others might impinge on vehicular travel a little bit. So it'll be an interesting balance, and we're going to talk about that later. All right, the charge. Reviewing projects.
Now in this, number 2, review request and PDF screwed up the spacing, the Word documents, right? So if a resident asks the TAC, I found that a little strange that a resident can ask the TAC to review something.
That could make us very busy.
Yes. I mean, a resident should ask the council or planning and zoning.
That's a good point. Or would it make sense to have engineering be able to ask us too?
Where does it say that, John?
Number
Yeah.
2, second sentence, reviews may be
Of town
requested
staff.
by the council, Mansfield residents, planning and zoning commission, or town staff.
Yeah, it might be a good idea to define how that would work. Like, would it need to be a petition with a certain number of residents, or can any resident just say, you should review this?
Well, to have residents working directly with the committee implies that the committee is totally functioning. And while we are making some progress towards that end, I wouldn't have classified this committee, especially during the last 2 years, as totally functioning. So it's a little bit,
Utopia.
well, it's a little bit of a reach to have residents going directly to the advisory committees. And I feel like we're supposed to be advising the staff and the council. And I don't really want to be advising residents. I mean, I don't mind if they bring something up that we can discuss. I just don't, I don't know about us telling somebody, well, here, this is how it should be.
Right, or are we in the place to do a review? Because that's how that is worded. Reviews may be
Right,
requested.
right. I
Well, that
mean,
was the charge originally, right? On the review state and local transportation project.
Yeah,
Some
they-
project back many years ago.
yeah, but it wasn't residents. It was
No.
either the council or
Yes.
planning and zoning.
Mhm.
And you've added town staff, and that's fine too. But I don't know about the residents thing. That worries me a little bit as to how that would work. It's probably fine as long as we don't end up with, I mean, in the past, there've been some really one issue residents.
Yes.
And if they didn't get their one issue, then they weren't happy. And so I personally would rather not be blamed. You're getting paid for that, I'm not.
Exactly.
Ryan has his hand raised.
I don't want to push us off onto a different topic if you guys are still debating that one. I was just putting my hand up to say something at some point. So my comment's not on the although I tend to agree with where Lon's going with this. I think that having residents work through staff or bring a matter to the council that might be referred to the TAC is a more appropriate, but that's not what my comment was on.
Yeah, I guess that's how I feel.
Right.
And, my suggestion, but I'm just one person here, would be to just take the residents out, make it staff, PCZ or council. And because the residents really, they should go to you.
Yeah.
They shouldn't come to us because we're not elected officials.
And usually first they come to staff, and if they're not happy with staff.
Yeah, then and that's fine too, because that's your
That's the way it
job.
works.
But I might be spending the whole summer somewhere else, and so how's that gonna work with a resident? If I'm not,
Especially if we're meeting quarterly.
yeah,
Yeah.
And
So-
then, you know, if there's something that a resident wants brought up beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we shouldn't discuss those things and be able to help the council and the PZC and the staff deal with it, but I don't know that we're a starting point.
Do we need a motion for that change or?
Probably when we go through the whole thing, we'll vote on.
All right, well, so
Well,
let's
that's what I
change,
recommend.
let's change number one. We'll call that number one. All right, community safety.
Unless people think that's gonna be controversial, like maybe it is one by one item.
Oh,
because
no,
I like one, but I don't like two.
Well, we'll see what
Yeah,
we come
yeah.
up with here.
Hopefully there's not a 2, 3, or 4.
All right, so on A in item 2 again. I think that's your job to ensure consistency. I mean, you're meaning the staff
Yes,
with values exposed. You know, I would say, you know,
Well, yeah.
we
If-
should perhaps discuss consistency with it, but I don't think it's our job to ensure it. That's the paid help and or the elected officials.
Well, that's why I think there might be a language thing, like if A says in reviewing, you could just take out the word ensure and do like review, I don't know.
Yeah, you
Like-
would review consistency, and
Yeah.
if it wasn't consistent, you would make that, take that back to you, John, or
Yeah.
whoever's here in the staff and say, we don't think it's consistent.
What about, instead of ensure, assess? Consistency?
Yeah, I think just.
Yeah,
with
that
the
would
word
be, that would be
ensure.
better.
Yeah,
All right, we'll call that number 2.
Ryan, did you have a comment?
Well, yeah, so I mean, it's going down the direction that I was gonna, I had the word promote in my mind, but I actually maybe like assess better. And then it was basically gonna be the same theme with item 2 in that list where it says, you know, confirm. That's just really strong language,
Mhm.
not very flexible. So again, I just think softening that a bit, you know, you're identifying things, but I don't think you want to get in the sort of quasi-regulatory sort of
Right.
realm.
So what's another good, who's a good
Maybe
word?
evaluate.
What do we, I mean, I even have issues, and maybe we put this in there last time, I don't know, but Vision Zero Network, is that, like, what is their, like, if I go to their website, it doesn't say these are our policies.
Right, okay,
right.
right. So
And I can pull that out.
instead of confirm, you could say, what'd you just say, Christine? You had a
I
word.
said evaluate, like just look at, you know, some sort of,
Yeah, it could be like evaluate the extent to which they yada, yada, yada.
yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
You can take out the Vision Zero.
Well, I don't mind referring to it. I just don't know that we have to.
Consider, what about consider? Consider whether, consider the extent to
Here's
which.
where the word Ryan proposed promote might come in, because we do want to promote Vision Zero,
Yeah.
um,
Okay,
promote concepts. that
Yeah,
will
because
make-
the A says reviewing the proposals. So we're reviewing them to try to see that they, yeah,
It's a good word.
yeah, instead of incorporating, promoting.
Or promote concepts that will make Mansfield Road safer by incorporating policy.
Yeah, I don't like-
Want to continue the rest of that sentence.
Yeah, like to John's point, policies might not be the right word, and or like there might be other programs.
Promoting concepts,
Is it principles of?
principles.
Well, I like
That'd
that
be
word.
better, promoting principles of the Vision Zero Network, thereby reducing, yeah.
It's
Again,
really,
that gives us the flexibility. We're
Mhm.
not confirming.
like the first line up here, what is Vision Zero? Strategy to eliminate all traffic fatalities, serious injuries while increasing safe, healthy, equitable mobility for all. I think that's what
Yeah.
Mhm.
we're promoting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's number, this is number 2, this is number 3.
You got it in your wording?
No,
Because I don't have it down.
no. All right, Ryan, if we want to get the wording, as I do, is evaluate
Are we
Ryan,
back?
again?
Who are-
It was assessed.
Yeah, because it was I think it was assess consistency with, and then I think the second one was before we went to promote, I was gonna say like evaluate the extent to which, but I think we went a different direction. Promote.
Extent to which they will make Mansfield safer by promoting. Oh, I see. You don't need,
I like just
you don't need them both.
Yeah,
Promote concepts that will make Mansfield Road safer.
All right, so let's
Eliminate
see.
all traffic fatalities.
Yeah, just steal their words.
How about evaluate if they will make Mansfield Road safer by promoting the principles of the Vision Zero network?
Evaluate the extent to which, or evaluate. Maybe,
Okay, evaluate.
because like if is just a 0-1, right? They do or don't, whereas that's a thing we're gonna keep in mind, where we're gonna review to evaluate the
Yeah,
extent to which they,
will make.
Yeah.
Mansfield Road safer. By promoting the principles of the Zero Vision Network. I don't know, do we need the last phrase there, thereby reducing blah, blah, blah?
I don't think
Just
so.
promoting the principles, okay?
is that what Vision Zero Network is? I forgot.
Yeah, it's a,
Can you see my screen?
Yeah,
So that's their strategy.
and it's reasonably popular across the country with, with town governments. Okay, that's number 3. Review and make recommendations, Roman numeral I, when appropriate, make suggestions for alternative solutions, fine. 3, review and make recommendations to modify, otherwise change the designated bicycle routes in Mansfield. Okay, that's fine. That has been a traditional task of this committee.
I just have a question. I'm sorry if I'm cutting someone off.
Go
I
ahead.
I wonder why that's a separate thing, because our charge is to review policies. So why is this a specific to the designated bike routes? Why wouldn't that just be incorporated into one above that says we evaluate things?
Because the bike routes come from people like me, Bike Mansfield. And so we need a place, at a Bike Mansfield meeting, we come up with this idea, well, we should have, this road should be a bike route. We don't have any place to take it to officially start the process of reviewing it. And so we took it to the TAC. TAC then makes a recommendation to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then they basically say yay or nay and put it in the next edition of their POCD. I mean, that's the way it's worked before.
Yeah, well, number 2 just talks about state and local transportation projects, so I don't think Bike Mansfield falls into that category. So it's like, I think that's why I see it.
And sometimes people come in and say, this should be a bike route. And so you need a place to start that.
I just wondered if there's a reason. It seems there is.
I think there is a word missing in this, though. I think you got to throw in the word regarding, maybe, recommendations to the PCC regarding proposals to modify.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
and then would that also like go back to, and I mean, we'll talk about complete streets, but that would also go back to engineering in like, hey, we recommend the next time you pave this road, like paint a bike sharrow on it or something like that. But I think it could be broader, like in back to Christine's point, like in theory, it could be broader than bicycle routes. Like I'm guilty of not watching that there was like the wayfinding meeting that I never followed up on watching the video on that, but like there's other modes of connectivity that, item 3 could encompass. How that's worded, I'm not sure, or, how to look at that, I'm not sure either.
Well, in the complete streets discussion, changes to some of the roads that involve bicycles and pedestrians
Mhm.
are fair game. This was basically just to have a way, I mean, we have this map now that shows where all the bike routes are in town. And occasionally, the routes need to be updated, and that's the process that, I mean, if there's another way to do that before coming to us, I suppose somebody could go directly to the staff and say, I want, North Wyndham Road to be a bike route. And then you'd have to deal with that. And then you could bring it to us if you wanted advice as to what it should be done. So,
I
I
get,
think this was in the original charge, which, all full disclosure, I never saw this charge till the fall, and I've been here for 8.5 years now, so.
yeah,
This charge may get done and we may never, us will remember it, but new people won't
Right,
ever
right.
find it. I hope not, but
and I think that's my question, is kind of like, I mean, I bike, I'm a cyclist, but at the same time, like outside of that map, like it's engineering, putting signs or sharrows or lanes or whatever to identify it to the common man and the driver, the driver needs to know that it's a bike route just as much as the person that is going to look at that map.
like, I think this committee would do number 3 if we took it out.
Right, it's still.
Yeah.
It would still come to this
And I think
committee.
that was Christine's point.
Yeah.
Is it cut, and I do like the idea of, not excluding other multimodal.
Like,
If
yeah.
there was a designated program for multimodality of other kinds.
I guess
Yeah,
what the charge is that when the P O C D gets updated, this committee would give its recommendations for what needs to be updated.
Yeah.
They would ask us for them anyways. So
Right,
it's kind
right.
of
Has-
formalizing something that happens anyways.
this is kind of tangential, but in the somewhat encompassing concept of connectivity, but has Mansfield considered like a safe routes to school program in the past?
we've gotten lots of grants. in
Okay,
Safe routes to school, that
okay,
path that goes up 89 to southeast. That was a
Okay,
safe routes to
okay.
school.
Only took 9 years from
Yeah.
2011 to 2020.
I don't know, I had a friend that now lives in Oregon, but used to work for New Hampshire Department of Transportation, and he was talking about safe routes to school the other day.
Yeah.
And it just.
Yeah, it's a great grant program, and it takes some time to orchestrate it, but there was another possibility of doing one over by Goodwin. A spur from the Birch Road. one
Right.
To get to Goodwin, but now Goodwin may not be a school much
Yeah,
longer.
I mean,
so-
that one probably has the best access with paths coming two
Yeah,
ways from
right.
to the roundabout type deal. And then if you have the one that might get to the middle school from here, that, anyway, that is a tangential thought, but.
Right. Okay, well, unless we have to take this out, I just soon leave it with Ryan's addition about regarding. And then provide an annual update to the town council. At that point, everybody's gonna resign.
Are those usually written or oral or?
This has never been done before. This is-
Yeah, I know.
Who gets to make the PowerPoint? No.
Well, I mean, being on town council, you can come give a
Yeah, you could do,
verbal.
right. There are many times when I've thought, geez, I've just found out something and I had to go to the council and then, things come up and I don't get there. Well, for the past 2 years, you couldn't go there. You had to do it virtually.
Yeah.
But I was being facetious. It's a good idea.
And I think for what the council wants, it's probably after the October meeting. Because if you're gonna review the next year's potential projects.
Right, right.
But it's up to this committee when you want to, you can update them anytime, but if we're gonna get in the budget process and try to work it through, it's got to get to them by December.
But I wonder if we want to just say something like provide regularly updates of recommendations at least annually or something, because if we came through and said, yes, we support this policy, would we want to wait a year, or we just want to send that to the next meeting in some form?
I think for an update like that, you don't have to have it be an annual report. You can just send, like the chair could send a letter to the town council and it can be included in our communications anytime.
Right. But isn't
Um,
that consider updating them?
yes, but I think that what the intent here is that we're gonna get updates from each of the committees. Because we don't always hear from everybody. And this way, I mean, certainly right now with we approved an additional state trooper just to help out with some of the monitoring of speeding. Because we're trying to cut down on that, given the fatality that happened with the UConn student. And so we want to be able to, some of us on the town council want to be able to remind our colleagues that just because it's gone away in the news doesn't mean that this is no longer at the forefront of what needs to happen. And so this way it'll be formalized. You don't have to do anything but more than the once a year. If you feel like doing more than that because it's important enough, we'll be happy to take it as a communication type deal. And then anyone can come and talk as a member of the public.
And also, Sam, you're here, when you go to the meeting, you can say,
Yep.
I attended the TAC and this was discussed, if it's something that needs the council to hear about it.
Right.
Thank you for coming, because we haven't had council in a long time.
Yeah.
I can't remember if there's ever been one before. There might have been. Do you remember, Lon, any councils?
Yeah, at the very beginning, when there was just, chaos.
Yeah. But since you've been retired, has it been? I can't think of if Bill Ryan ever came, or
He might have come.
Alec, Alec, what was his?
Yeah, he came.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
One thing, not to bring, your comment reminded me, but I had written this down. Is there any overlap with UConn or town gown committee communication in this, in our charge, or should there be?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, aren't they doing their own kind of studies on traffic and safety and campus pedestrian stuff and,
They don't share with us if they are.
okay,
I mean, not in a formal sense. They may
Yeah.
do it in that
in that
town
town
gown,
gown
but
meeting?
I get more of an impression that that meeting is discussions. Rather than
Okay.
handouts.
Okay.
And they may be able to ask questions about things they've heard like that.
Mhm.
But I don't see reports coming out of that committee at all. They report
Okay.
in terms of verbally, discussion
Mhm.
and how they're trying to use the meetings to build a rapport with the new president.
Okay.
Stuff like that.
So this might be on our agenda, but there is let me get the exact phrasing, because are you gonna go to the meeting on Tuesday?
The campus bike master plan meeting?
No, the active transportation.
Active
study.
transportation study.
Yeah, I won't be in the area, but it's virtual. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna look at it. I
Well-
went to the first one, I missed the second one.
What was really interesting about that is like the second one, they had the consultant firm that they hired to come in and do this presentation with some very like nicely done studies about different like traffic calming and even like, as a designer, like visual treatments for crosswalks and like kind of some unique like stuff that could translate into the town to make it look cohesive from a visual traffic sense, so to speak. And so I didn't know if there had been any overlap communication. Okay.
We, and at Bike Mansfield, we help what they call the bicycle working group.
Yeah, and that's the lady that's
Corey
nurse,
Clark,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
And they're actually, and then it's on the agenda here to bring you up to date, but they're submitting a bicycle friendly university application in August. And so there has been some cross pollination from some of the stuff that
yeah,
they're working on and some of the stuff that we are interested in.
well,
But, you know, the territories, basically, it's like two cities.
yeah. And
Yeah.
that's always very unfortunate to me, because I feel like you can see where the university stops and the town starts.
Yeah.
And having some overlap, especially when it comes to like visual appeal, and consistency in traffic communication as a driver is going between those fairly frequently. And so just having that overlap.
Right, well, if we ever got money to do a study of active transportation, we could hire the same consultant
Yeah,
that just did it for Yukon.
yeah,
Because places like Fort Collins and
Yeah.
so on, they do have,
yeah,
bike routes that start in the town, go right through the university
Yeah.
and come out on the other side of the town.
yeah,
And Corey's well aware of that, and we just haven't ever had that kind of, Yukon never seems to have the money to do things, and then the town has money, but it takes a long time to get something like that implemented,
Mhm.
so that it just hasn't. I'm hoping that once Yukon adopts their study and
Mhm.
starts working on things, we can do some spillover stuff in town.
hmm
And try to make the routes, connect, and some of the wayfinding, as you say,
Yeah.
makes sense
Yeah.
to both parties, both jurisdictions.
Yeah, the lady that has sent out the invite is like a campus landscape architecture and tree warden, which could be the coolest job ever, but I don't know if she would then report into like Yukon planning and
Yes.
Right.
construction. Okay.
Yeah,
She probably works for Sean.
yeah, she works for the construction and
Okay.
design office.
Yeah, yeah.
What's her name? I can't.
Eileen
Yeah,
Pugh.
I
Yeah.
know her from tree warden.
Okay.
Okay. And I don't have, frequency is fine. We used to meet monthly with very little to do, so we went to quarterly, and we can always meet more frequently if. I mean, for example, when the Planning and Zoning Commission has the new draft plan of conservation development, we have a certain amount of time that we have to get back to them. And so
Okay.
we'll have to, if it doesn't correspond with the quarterly meeting, we'll have to meet more frequently.
And we can even change it to, instead of as necessary, as deemed appropriate. Just so that it's not that as harsh or
Okay, as deemed
appropriate.
appropriate. That's number 5. Okay, so let's get a motion to approve all 5 changes. So the first one took out Mansfield residents in their in the entry phase to the TAC. 2 changed ensure to assess in 2A. 3 it put in evaluate to the extent which they will make Mansfield Road safer by promoting the principles of the Vision Zero network, period. 4 after PCC in item 3, we're going to add regarding proposals to modify rather than just plain proposals. And then the last one, number 5, is as deemed appropriate instead of as necessary in the meeting frequency. So somebody want to make a motion to accept those or to recommend those changes?
I would so motion to recommend those changes.
Okay,
I can second.
Alex. And any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. Okay, thank you. All right. Philip show up yet? No?
No,
No. I sent him the link, so. Okay, it's to you, John, for area transportation project updates. I think we knew what you told us in April, but any modifications you could let us know now, I guess.
I don't remember what I told you, maybe.
Mhm.
So we just did some overlays of some roads. That's just putting down a layer of asphalt on top of the existing layer. We did Southwood, North Eagleville, a section of it from Southwood to the Hunting Lodge Road intersection. Anton, Baxter, Rock Ridge, Russet and Westgate. On Monday, we're gonna be beginning to mill and pave Homestead. And at that time, we're gonna pave a portion of Talon Turnpike and Rock Ridge, which they were holding off because they didn't want to damage new pavement with the
Right.
road going into Homestead.
So what were those three again? It was.
Homestead,
Homestead.
Talon Turnpike, Rock Ridge, and then Chatham, Derrick, Deerfield, Pine Ridge, and Hunter's Run. And hoping later in the season to do full depth reclamation of section of Browns from Chatham to 32 and Fern Road.
That would complete Browns Road.
No.
Oh.
Still got that portion that's, part of it's now scenic. From Chatham, I think it's scenic all the way to Mansfield City.
Just out of curiosity, what restrictions then are on a scenic road?
Anything we do has to get approved by planning and zoning.
Okay.
If you even want to cut a tree down, you have to go to.
Okay,
planning,
I'll
unless it's that.
as a member of planning and zoning, I should research that, okay.
Some of those projects were state projects, like Talon Turnpike.
No, those are, Town Turnpike's an old dirt road. That
Oh,
we're paving a
okay.
portion of it because,
It
just
just showed up
floods
as
out.
195 for some reason.
oh, yeah, I don't know if it's
Yeah.
Old Town Turnpike, maybe it's Old Town.
Oh,
Turnpike,
gotcha.
sorry. Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah.
I just wasn't
It's-
familiar with the location.
It's
Is it off
the-
of
But I see the
44?
area.
No, it's off
Thirty.
195, that's the
32.
corner between 44 and 32, between 195 and 32. It's a little
Hmm.
dirt road
We're
there.
just paving the top of the hill, so it'll still
Right
be
by the
dirt. We
adventure
don't want
park.
people to use it to cut through, so we're not, but we're having issues with driveway and going out all the time.
Oh, does it connect to Molten Road? Is it that road?
No,
No,
that's
okay.
that's another old one.
Oh, yeah, that's a
I didn't
weird.
even know there was
okay.
a road there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the state's supposed to be coming in this year. I haven't got any scheduled to put in the rectangular rapid flashing beacons on the crossings on 195. From the bank where there already is one all the way up to the mid block in front of E.O. Smith and Starbucks.
are they gonna be push button to flash, just like that one?
Yes,
So they're not gonna do the hawk signals where you actually get a red light. These
no,
are just
flash. Yeah.
just a flash, okay.
And then I don't know if we talked about it last time, but we did a road safety audit. The state actually put the requests in based on the fatality. So the state, the town, and some Yukon representatives we did. And with their engineer they hired, they did a road safety audit from intersection of 195 down 275 all the way to Separatist. And from the bank, or I guess they went all the way to Birchwood Heights up to Mansfield Road that goes into Yukon. Right.
No results yet, though.
The draft, I have the draft and reviewing it looks good.
That's good.
Right. All comes back to, things to do that you gotta spend money on, but
Yeah.
Yeah, is the idea of a boulevard and a rotary and a
Roundabout.
roundabout down there still in play?
they wrote down the roundabout, but I don't think they were too enthused by the state people. There was more state people on this walk than anybody else, but,
They wanted,
and it's their report, so I don't know if it'll say it in the final report.
why they're,
And they're promoting roundabouts now. They're putting in, they want to put in 4 in Norwich on Route 82.
Wow.
They put one in Glastonbury, so.
Considering the state maintains so many of the traffic lights, you'd think they'd be more in
Yeah,
favor of.
I think they
themselves.
are. I bet it's more that our traffic volume is so much smaller than what they deal with than the more urban
Yeah,
ones.
it's kind of odd that they're. Well, to the extent that we have recommended before that they really look hard at the roundabout at Separatist. We would love to make that known again.
Yes.
I don't know how the best to do that is. Is there, when they get done with their state review, is there a chance that we could comment on it and then say that, which you then could pass on
Yeah.
to whoever?
I don't know how well it'll work, but we can definitely do that. I mean,
Okay.
that's the way it should be. You know, the report comes out, you read the final report and you send it back. And then, let's see. We still have the state grant for Maple Road improvements. Currently on from Maple down to Max Felix roughly, and then we put in a request for a second lot SIP, which is in the queue, so I think we're gonna get the funding for it. And I'll take, put a bike path all the way down to the middle school,
A multi-use path.
multi-use
Yeah,
path.
right.
And
What about the 195 from the top of the hill down to Four Corners? Anything?
we can't get any funding on that. We are gonna try for we just had the meeting with Craig, had a webinar today on it.
That's a bummer. I think Joe Courtney sent an email about that
Oh, yeah, but
specifically.
I mean, Ryan can talk to it. He didn't follow it up with money. Oh, I didn't get in this, but you'll get it here. And then
Oh,
we
geez.
met with Commissioner Boughton, who's running the CT built BILT.
So I'll put down here, not yet for that.
And I don't think it's gonna get through this one because there's only like $100 million whole nationwide in this first funding, and the state's gotta have CROG may package us with something else, but everybody's gonna want this money, and I can just see us getting pushed away because we don't. First thing they're gonna look at is deaths. There's no deaths in that corridor for pedestrians or anything. So, but we're still gonna try because they gotta give the money to somebody. So
Do we have a construction estimate for that?
it was like 1.2, I think.
It's less than I would have imagined.
I can't.
Yeah.
Going off the top of my head.
Yeah, no worries.
Can you asking about the dollar amount for the 195 multi-use trail? Is that
Yeah,
Yes.
the revised budget? The second time we submitted it to Courtney's office was just a little north of 3 million because for an 80% match, and it was like 2.5 million. So the town would have covered the remaining. I think it was like 600,000.
thanks.
Yep.
Maybe that's where I went to a double six.
Okay.
And there's a community challenge grant that the town has received with the Mansfield Housing Authority. If that project goes in, we want to turn 275 into a boulevard, so it'd be Center Island and all that. But it hinges entirely on the housing project and then getting financing and all that. But the governor came down to Mansfield for it, all that, so it's
Oh, wow.
very exciting project, but
Is that the senior house? I mean,
Yes.
what's the right word for that?
affordable housing.
Affordable.
Yeah.
I thought that was housing for, originally they were talking about on Maple Road, putting an assisted living.
No, it's not
place.
the,
It's not that.
no,
Where is the affordable housing tract?
we're across from the senior center and the housing authority, that those two houses in that big field where the gas
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
pump
always
station
smells
in
like
there.
propane.
in
Okay,
there.
okay.
What's the name of that firm, Ryan? It's skipping me, the one that Ron was referring to. The medical. They're in Stonington, I can't think of their name. They're a preferred. Masonic care.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was the assisted living.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's still not.
That hasn't gone anywhere. That I know. I think that's it for
Okay,
the projects.
With respect to that one particular project, is there anything, because I believe UConn wants to rebuild Mansfield
Mhm.
Apartments, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
There's nothing we can discuss with them about joining in the party for the boulevard.
I think Ryan may have to address that. Did they commit any dollars or they did and then they didn't? That was the RFP. That was-
Yeah, so they have, there is like a $500,000 thereabouts, I think, financial commitment in a, indirectly, I guess you could say that UConn is offering as part of the overall package for the boulevard and the affordable housing project. Basically, I think what it is in light of their their Mansfield Apartments redevelopment work, they just have to be able to show that there's like $500,000 worth of work happening in front of that complex, and that counts towards the project, something like that. So they don't have the exact dollar amount, but basically we can include a portion of that project in the overall project, but are counted towards match the overall project budget.
That's better than nothing.
And they did share some information on that project with the road safety audit,
Oh, that's good.
so they could kind of incorporate that.
Coordinate
That
it.
is gonna change, if it's 900 and something beds over, that's gonna change
Yeah.
the whole pedestrian, bike, car,
Yeah,
it's gonna change this whole area, and to your point, now you got Yukon town, Yukon, so
Yeah.
it does get confusing.
maybe they'll tunnel under.
I think an ice rink, which nobody wanted over there, might have been better off. 900
Because I
beds.
heard like 7-story buildings or, yeah. Anyway,
That is what they're talking about. They're getting pushback on that, but they are talking about 7-story buildings. That's true.
originally they were gonna put the new hockey rink there.
yeah.
Have you seen the hockey rink?
Oh, yeah.
It's the biggest building in eastern Connecticut.
Well, we live right near it, and we followed this semi of separatists today carrying like this massive panels of glass.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's amazing. When first time I went by that, I went,
yeah,
where am I? I moved to New
Every
York. all of a
building they
sudden.
build.
That STEM building's pretty big too.
Yeah.
But it's good, I mean, you can,
yeah.
I'm proud of my state university finally updating.
Okay, thank you, John. So we did talk a little bit about the Yukon BFU effort and the bicycle friendly university. One of the things in the critique of Mansfield's, when we got our bronze level bicycle friendly community, they did suggest that we try to get Yukon to apply for a bicycle friendly university, and they are going to. Their application is due in August, and they don't actually expect to be given the designation this time, but they give you a nice kind of cheat sheet or score sheet saying, thank you for your application, and here are the things you need to do for your next one in order to qualify. So that's progress. Anyway. And the active transportation study, the third public session is July 19th. Has everybody gotten the link for that already?
I've checked out their website a handful of times too for updates and that sort of thing.
Yeah, because there is now a Zoom meeting link.
Yeah, there's a WebEx link out.
And you've
now.
got it,
Yeah,
and you have it,
I'm not positive.
because I was gonna say, I have it somewhere and I can email that
I
link.
can track it down.
Certainly.
I'd appreciate it. if we, you know.
All right, well, why not? I'll just send the link out to it's an email from Eileen McHugh,
yeah.
and I'll just forward her thing to the committee. Now, speaking of forwarding to the committee, we can't use the official,
No, I don't know. That's some kind of security that IT put on, so
yeah, so,
you have to.
So only you can do it as a town?
well, Sherry
Well,
can do it,
If
right?
I click on,
Okay.
yeah, and if I click on it, I can just put all your email addresses, and I think everybody could reply to that, as long as I don't send it just to the committee. if I pull up the committee, then click on the plus sign, it opens it up,
Oh.
expands it, and then.
Well, I'm just saying, I have the link, but I can't send it to the official committee. I have to send it to you or
Yes.
Sherry, and they'll send it using the official link. Okay,
That's
link for
all for cybersecurity,
July 19th.
because now we log in remotely on our email, we have to get a text to our phone.
Right.
So it's-
I'll try to do that this weekend because July 19th is next week, so.
it's easy.
Mhm.
And let's see. Yeah, and I did mention that the bicycle friendly community renewal. This is the overview of the application. The application has to be done online. But this is all the questions that they'll be asking. It's 84 pages long. So I'm in the process of organizing. There's a whole bunch of stuff engineers going to have to do, you know, how many miles of this and those kinds of things. And then there's some stuff that the planning people have to do. Then there's some stuff that we can do because we're bicyclists in the area. And then there's some stuff that I think the health district can do, because both Andy Bloom and Cecily Serrazzo have been helping and said they will help with that. So I'm in the process of trying to organize who should do what, and then I'll come in and meet with you and Derek as to what, you know, because a lot of this is just, you know, statistics that need to be put in there. But it's going to be a lot of work.
If you have
Unfortunately.
line work for it, I have CAD and would be happy to do takeoffs if that's helpful or not.
I think they have most stuff. Like, for example, we need to know how many miles of multi-use path there are and things like that. And we had that as of 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, but now we don't have it anymore because there've been more added. So,
We have it somewhere. I'm sure
Yeah.
Derek can pull it up in 2
Yeah.
seconds.
yeah, okay, good. All right, then the last thing. We do have this complete streets policy, which is very, very nice, very wonderful thing. But Laurel and I were talking the other day about it would be nice to use it somehow, rather than have it just be something that you refer to when you have a new project. And so I put together some thoughts that we had talked about, and that's this thoughts on complete streets priorities. And I stole this idea from Hartford. Hartford has a complete streets committee that meets to help, you know, advise their staff and elected people as to what they should be doing with complete streets. And so it occurred to me and Laurel that we might be able to make some sort of a priority list based on the characteristics of road segments in town. And that maybe could advise some of our long-term capital needs. For example, if we want to make a complete street out of Hunting Lodge Road or whatever, or the section that goes north from Birch Road, and that was a high priority, then that would give something other than just having a complete streets policy. It'd be something that the complete streets policy and the Transportation Advisory Committee work through. So I put down here some of the things that I thought, and this is not by no means a complete list, that could identify what a complete street is or could be in Mansfield. And that would be roads that have access to schools, accesses to government buildings and facilities, shopping, commerce, and deliveries, connecting to popular destinations and points of interest. I mean, our bike route map tried to connect and list some of the points of interest in town on the back side, so that people who are biking in town can know that here's some of the parks, here's some of the points of interest. These are not complete lists. And then, main commuter routes and recreation. So the idea would be to start thinking, what streets do we have that are already complete? And I would say that most of the streets over down in the downtown are functional complete streets. It doesn't have bike lanes, but we have an ordinance that says you can ride your bike on the sidewalk, and we also have lots of places to park your bike, so it still works as a complete street. And then, I've started listing some of the others, but I guess there's two parts to this. One is, what should we be looking at? Is it schools and access and so on, recreation? Or is there other things that would put something in this should be a complete streets category column? And then these at the bottom, I just started randomly thinking here's some of the places that I think. And our complete streets policy says that we're supposed to work with state and other officials so that if we, for example, think that complete street should be from 195 from Four Corners or from Timber Drive all the way to Liberty Bank, then we should be able to try to convince them that that should be a complete street, because state has some kind of complete street policy as well. And I don't know how we precipitate that. I haven't been around recently to do any of that kind of communication. So anyway, that's the discussion, and we can see whether or not it makes sense to do something, or we can do our own research to determine whether this is enough to get started or whatever.
I mean, it looks like a good start, Lon. I don't know, one of the things is when you have this sort of complete streets or access, then it's, you have a healthier population, right? People who can easily get from one place to another, or walking, that type sort of thing safely.
Right.
Becomes important. And that's one of the big things, is it's very hard to live in Mansfield without a car.
Right.
Yeah, I had to do that for the last few weeks.
Right.
I
I mean,
don't know what I would add. I mean, it seems like you have a lot of the,
well, one of the things that I'm thinking that we could, if we can come up with a list of things, that will kind of advise the staff when they're doing capital budget needs, and also some of the maintenance stuff. Because if we say, for example, that we want Birch Road to be a complete street, even the Birch Road that goes to the old training school, then that would make a difference in what the town did in terms of
Priorities.
putting stuff together.
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite example is Chaffeeville Road, where the guardrails are right on the edge of the pavement. And so that'll never be a complete street, because you can't walk or bike on there because the guardrails are so close. There's no place to, unless you can jump over, and I can't jump anymore. So
And it's cost prohibitive.
so having some of these things in this complete streets column, saying this, we'd like to have a complete street. Maybe it's not today, but maybe it will be in 10 years or whatever, based on whatever criteria we agree on. Then that might help us make streets walkable, and at least our complete streets walkable and rideable a little more than just losing them every now and then.
I think you could almost like cross-reference your like start of a list to like the criticality of repair or replace. And then also like there could be levels of like implementation. There doesn't necessarily have to be like curb, gutter, sidewalk completely on everything. You could have like different levels, like maybe Chafeeville would have done, there are narrow sections of Chafeeville where, the guardrails are an issue, but at the same time, let's take that out of consideration and say, hey, you could have added like painted bike sharrows or some sort of like traffic calming in other areas of that road. And then there's other roads where sidewalks, like next to the road. And then there's other areas where there's like a separated sidewalk from the road. Like you're not going to have all areas or all roads feasible for all things, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But
How
is
is
it-
that evaluated currently
Well,
for like reconstructions in town or?
Well, most of these roads, we're just putting back what was there. That's what, we're not rebuilding in a sense of taking out curves and all that. We're just putting back asphalt that's there. We always look at things we can do, but we didn't. There's certain things we can't do. And the council, when this passed, was like, not every road's gonna be a complete street. We don't want that to happen. And, the rural character, because I see on here, Spring Hill Road near the middle school. And I know Christine has talked about this before. There's like 10 trees that are right, you going towards Browns Road. Those are all town trees, but you got the stone wall, which is on that person's property. They're gonna be upset if I cut the trees, never mind, cut the trees and you gotta move your wall.
Right.
We're looking at maybe moving the road there, but to put a bike lane in, even if you put 4 foot on each side, that's 8 foot. I gotta add to a road that's only 22 feet wide, 24 feet wide. So it's.
yeah, well,
that's-
I was thinking more of this, the section that's right in front of the middle school.
Oh, yeah.
Not the section that's heading west, because that,
Yeah, no, that's the Maple Road should take, at least from the northern part, we'll take it all the way to the middle school.
Yeah.
So we will be on Spring Hill Road for the end of that.
because
Yeah.
that's one of those rural roads that,
Yeah.
to make it a complete street. The only way you could do it is if you made it one way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or even from a connectivity standpoint, like, as an example, but just the section from the middle school to like Bicentennial Pond, you've connected
Okay,
areas
yeah,
there,
yeah. Right,
Um,
right, that's a good point.
And I know that from our discussions at the town council, we're trying, there's a lot more support now from my colleagues to fund repavement to the level that John is kind enough to suggest, but hasn't always been listened to. And we'd like to get it to the point where as we finish, so, we're going through all the streets that we have responsibilities over. After we finish, like in 15 years, then we start with the ones that we just finished 15 years ago, whatever it is that the life cycle is.
Right.
So that you don't have all the potholes and everything like that. But I know that there's also support, even if it wasn't discussed, for when streets are being redone to try to make them a complete street. It's just the cost on top of everything else of, wherever that is, because like John said,
That's why I like your list line, because
Right.
it gives,
priority.
this is what I briefed this to the council in November. I'll be, Maple Road, Gurleyville Road, which isn't on your list, but I thought that connects the community to
Yeah, well-
Yukon.
My,
Here,
Mansfield, no, I know, it's just Mansfield Center, Bassett's Bridge Road to Mansfield Hollow, but
mhm.
right,
try to go through Mansfield Hollow with all those houses so close. We have to be creative how we get
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But maybe Bassett's Bridge to the park, like you said, or the boat ramp, that would be a beautiful ride.
Yeah.
Southern Mansfield, we gotta do something for down there, Connetville Road, Pudding Lane, Meadowbrook, Mansfield City Road, because people there could walk to the mall, walk to
Right.
McDonald's, walk to Big
Yep.
Y. Right
Yeah.
now, you're risking your life.
Yeah.
Crazy, there aren't
Yeah.
sidewalks there.
Right, well,
I think
And-
there's
and-
crosswalks at the intersection, but no sign.
It's,
There's some crosswalks that lead to nowhere.
But
around
that's
town,
state
too.
road too, so
yes.
well, that's where there is
complication.
some communication and getting on their, on their list of projects too, which, takes time, but, we don't start now, we'll never get it.
Yeah,
Like Lon and I were on the Eastern Gateways, which CROG put together with Mansfield, Tallinn, Coventry, and Bolton. Might have been Bolton there, and they looked at that corridor and improvements. It's all out there in a nice report,
Yeah.
but now we're getting all this money, we gotta get
Right.
report to pavement.
nice.
Mhm.
Would it be, so in hearing the discussion and thinking about this, would it be helpful if there was kind of recommendations for given given maintenance levels, what might
Mhm.
we be able to do or consider? Like on a 2-lane road that's less than 20 feet wide, what potentially could the first step be? Which is probably quite limited, but could the committee make that sort of?
Well, it's
recommendation?
interesting, following up on your and Laurel idea, maybe there are different levels.
Right.
Of, you have a complete street that's complete, and then you have a junior complete street.
Yeah.
In areas where you just can't do it, but you can do X, Y, Z instead. So, and then, you try to make the connections as short as,
I guess the question is, what is a complete street in Mansfield, Connecticut
Yeah.
look like?
Yeah,
But what is the A? What is the A plus or?
right.
yeah,
And
yeah,
Because we don't want a 40-foot wide road with 2 sidewalks.
some
2
people
bike
might.
lanes,
two
yeah.
lanes,
Like,
right.
Well,
I also like the idea of making some roads one lane.
I have this crazy idea. I want to petition the MUTCD where it's a single lane for vehicles with shoulders. And the vehicles have to slow down and move into the shoulders when they encounter each other.
Yeah.
So, it's probably never gonna fly, but
Well, that's like a traffic calming strategy. Like you put something, you narrow the road to
Yeah.
force people to come.
but knowingly narrowing it so
Yeah.
two-way traffic can't pass.
Yeah.
It's complicated, but it would make drivers pay more attention.
we hope.
We hope, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, where do we go from here? We've got an outline and an idea. But how do we put this in some kind of a package that we can actually structure it, and make it hold water, so to speak.
Well, I hate to give more work to anyone, but the idea of a checklist for each project is how like the DOT approaches it. And I know like the Port Authority approaches that for sustainability too. I don't know if you do something like that already for whenever you do a reconstruction, is there something you have to?
Well, that's where the words, when you say reconstruction, to me, that's total, I haven't done a reconstruction in.
I
Mansfield,
think of reclaiming as a reconstruction of
Yeah, but I-
pavement, sorry.
But I don't, that's just tearing up bad pavement and making sure the base is good. That's-
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not, we did at Stearns Farm, the intersection down there in Mansfield City, and
Mhm.
why can't I think of it? That used to be a terrible intersection, we
Right,
raised it up, and so we do little things like that, but not.
Oh, well, like,
Major
to me,
reconstruction.
Chafeeville, when it got reclaimed, it got regraded, it actually might have gotten a little wider inadvertently.
I don't. They could have, I don't
Yeah.
believe it did, but it should feel wider because before it was rutted and.
Encroached upon by all the
which is-
debris and stuff, yeah.
It's a difficult thing. That's, I have people that live on Brookside Lane that have lived there for 50 years, the road's never been paved. They don't want to hear about a complete street
Right,
around here. They want their road paved because they've been paying taxes for
Yeah,
50 years,
yeah,
and that's but I think you're at a start here where.
Yeah, this is
We pick something and say, this is maybe the pet project that we're gonna go for next next budget. If we can get something by December of what it looks like, what it is,
Yeah.
I support it fully. I mean,
Okay.
And if you're coming up with your proposals for the roads and how much of a budget you'll need for that, maybe the complete street priorities can be factored in as a separate.
Yeah,
I think it almost has to be a separate project.
And
Resurfacing.
it's sort of a tool to help, look at the big picture, that's all. rather than-
Lon, I'm sorry to interrupt. I've got to run to pick up a child. You don't need me to vote on it. This is a very important discussion. I don't mean to interrupt it, but I'm just making sure you don't need my vote for a quorum or anything coming up.
I don't think we're voting on this.
Okay, perfect. I mean, maybe we could also, one thought I had is we could, the bike lanes in Mansfield that are already there are a really good place to start too. You know, those roads that are part of that process, because they go to some, you know, they go past the schools and that, but that's just a thing to think about. But maybe we could take this online or email a little bit and think more as we brainstorm through the process.
Right, right.
But anyway, thank you. I'm sorry I have to run. But
Hanging out as long as you did.
have a good night, everybody.
Right.
Good night.
Well, I think we could do a little more research too. There's a lot of towns doing complete streets, both in Connecticut and all over. And as I say, the Hartford has a whole committee, and maybe we could find out, you know, what criteria they're using. I mean, yes, Hartford's way different than us, but maybe some of the concepts, you know, and so let's see, let's put it on the agenda for next time and see if we can come up with some ways to move this ahead. So, and the idea again being to come up with a priority list, but to do it in a sort of scientific way that, you know, somebody.
It's gonna get the most users and it isn't gonna cost,
Yeah,
like Chapeyville, make Chapeyville some kind of complete street would have cost, I don't know what it would cost.
right.
Have to relocate a river.
Yeah,
I mean,
or it would just all be falling.
we would have built a retaining wall like over by the
Post office.
post office. You know,
Yeah,
I don't think people would have liked that out in Chapeyville. I don't,
Okay.
never asked them though. either.
well, let's put it on the agenda and we'll try to communicate a little bit when we come up with some more information about how other communities have done this, because I'm sure this is not the first community that thought about, let's try to prioritize some of these things. Okay.
Makes sense.
All right, anything else under other business or any reports? Next meeting would theoretically be the
Like a date
second
somewhere.
Thursday in
October 13th.
October. Okay, October 13th. All right. Thank you all. And it's 8:20.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Brian.
Brian.
Speaking of complete streets,
Oh, yeah.
that section between 89 and
We're still
Bassett Bridge
recording.
Road
Wow.
theoretically has walking paths on both sides of the road.
Which street? Atwoodville?
No, 195.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
theory,
gravel.
yeah.
It's